So hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now this is just a really brief look at something you're going to see a lot more of in the not too distant future, I hope. Now this is from the most anal engineer I've ever virtually met, and hopefully I'll get to meet him in real person one day, but a man after my own heart, John from Framework in Canada. Let's just thank him for creating something completely custom for the Peak Talk YouTube channel. This is probably the most special bicycle component related thing, frame, product, any product that I've ever received, because it's completely bespoke, completely custom to the geometry, which we'll take a look at in a minute, and the features which I've always been crying out for on road bikes, which I've never been able to buy. Why he's making these frames, why he's made this company, why he's making such attention to detail, even when it comes to shipping these things, custom making axle holders in the box, custom making a wooden framework in the box so they don't move around in shipping, and he just does everything right, which the bike industry does wrong. That's how I would explain it. Now, obviously, there's a cost associated with doing those things right, but it's for the love of the engineering, for the love of the bicycle, for the love of the pure product that he's doing this. That's how I would summarize it. He's doing everything right that the bike industry does wrong in mass production. Anyway, what are those things which I've been crying out for in bikes that I've always gone on about? First of all, being a larger, taller rider with particularly long legs and a shorter body, is a steep seat tube angle. TCRs, other large bikes in XL, anything above a 58 or even a 56, the seat tube angle is really sort of like laid back, which I really don't like. If you've got a long femur, it puts you so far behind the bottom bracket. As soon as you go up a climb, what happens? Your centre of gravity moves further aft and you just get no weight, no body weight to help you stay over the bottom bracket to put force on the pedals. Mountain bikes have been using steep seat angles for years, steep seat tube angles for years. Why don't we do it on road bikes? But personally, I love climbing with a steep seat tube angle on my hardtail, 76 degrees. Gravel bike is not so steep, but it's getting better. It's about 73.5 on my gravel bike. But road bikes, 72 degrees or 72.5 degrees on a TCR. It's just too slack. And people do comment on my bike fits. Why is your seat so far forward? Well, you won't be commenting it on this because this is designed so the seat's in the middle of the rails. So steep seat tube angle, we'll get into the geometry, 75 degrees. I would have gone steeper, but I didn't want to overdo it. Still pretty conservative, but 75 degrees in an XL frame size is off the charts. There are no other bikes on the market with geometry like this. So 75 degrees. And John doesn't question you. If he thinks you might be out of the ballpark, he might say to you, like if you're a customer who's going for a custom frame, if you say something too wacky that won't work, I think he'll recommend you don't do that. But he was quite happy to do my wacky ideas on this, which is really cool. BB drop, another thing that is so overlooked on bike geometry charts and modern bike geometry. I believe most bottom brackets are too high. Why do I believe that? We're going to short cranks, first thing. So we've got more ground clearance, so we can drop the BB. Second of all, we're running much bigger tyres than we used to. So if we're going to a 30mm tyre or 32mm tyre, what does that do? Well, the diameter gets bigger of the tyre and it pushes the bike further off the ground. So why don't we decrease the bottom bracket height? Not only is that better for handling, reducing the centre of gravity, in the y-axis, it's better for aerodynamics. Your whole body is sat lower down in the bike. Your frontal area is hidden behind more of the bike. Okay, it's marginal, but it's better body aerodynamics, which is the big part of the CDA equation, is your body. So if you drop that down between the wheels as close as possible, and if you're running short cranch, which I do, 170s or 165s, bigger tyres, get the bottom bracket right down. So this is a BB drop of 80 mil, which for a road bike or an all-road bike is, again, pretty unheard of. We're looking at 73, I'd say, on most road bikes, or even less on some bikes. There are handling issues associated with dropping it too low, but I'm happy to take that trade-off to reduce, the whole centre of gravity of the frame, and just, be a bit more aerodynamic. Other things we've gone for is a very slack head tube angle to give me a longer front centre. So we've gone for a 72 degrees again. Could have gone slacker, but this is slacker than a lot of gravel bikes. So the head tube is a little bit more raked out. Okay, might not be as good for quick and nimble handling, but matched with the right fork, you can counteract that. But it will give me a slightly longer front centre, but won't affect the bike being too long. So I've still got a fairly compact top tube length on there. So yeah, those three things I think are the most radical. The really steep seat tube angle, which I've always wanted, the bottom bracket drop, which I think more people should be doing, and the head tube angle. I mean, that's less extreme, but it's a little bit more slack than normal because I want to fit big tyres. Now, this bike, I think we designed it, it's basically a road bike, but we designed it to take up to 40mm tyres, so I can ride it on gravel if I want, and it should still fit a double chainring on the front. We'll get to see how that works, but we've got a press fit bottom bracket. Now, I don't want to hear anyone moaning about press fit bottom brackets, because this isn't a press fit bottom bracket in the bicycle industry, it's just a press fit bearing how it would be made in all types of engineering machinery and industry. This is just how it's done in cars, planes, trains, automobiles, whatever. It's going to be the same in here. So John has carefully kept that diameter and alignment perfect, and you'll see when we put cranks in how well this is aligned. Again, with the head tube, perfect bearing alignment in the head tube. You might think, oh, Pink Taunton head tube looks so long. Yeah, well, I don't want to run a load of spacers. So this is about 40mm higher. And you know my position is quite extreme. You've seen my bike fit, you've seen my road TT position. You know it's a fair drop there. So I'm happy with the drop. I'm happy with being really contorted on a bike. I didn't spend hours practicing yoga for nothing. But I don't want to run spacers. So we've got a longer head tube. So this is about a 40mm higher frame stack. The most XL or 60 centimeters or 58s on the market, but that's 35-40mm of spacers that I don't need, and I'm probably not going to ever go much lower than that, because the fastest position, don't forget, is parallel forearms on the hoods, and that tends to be faster with a bit of higher stack, don't forget. So we've got a higher stack, no spacers, so I'll be able to cut that, boom, dead straight, and I'll always be able to drop it down if I want to. So if I want to get a bit more extreme, I can fit a negative stem if I want to. I'm sure John won't like machining me another one, but I can fit any stem on here. This is a round steerer. John's designed all the cable routing, I believe, better than anyone else on the industry. He also makes it for an FSA system, which is quite a proven system. But just to show you the intricacy of this headset bearing alignment, the bearings and the top cap here are essentially a press fit system. And that's how well they're aligned. So on a modern kind of carbon bike out of China or out of anywhere, not picking on China, they're all made in China, don't forget. It's all kind of sloppy, and it self-aligns when you tighten it with the conical tapered collet. This is aligned from the beginning, so much so that this top bearing interface that goes in the inner race of the top bearing is actually almost a semi-press fit into the top bearing, and there's a tiny little jacking off screw, I think it's an M4 and M5, to actually release that. That's how well this is put together. So you should never get any ring of death on this bike. It's all toleranced properly. Absolutely beautiful. The stem is a work of art, not the lightest. I'm going to say this is not the lightest frame. I'm not even going to bother weighing it, because it's going to be more than your normal carbon frame, because of the level of machining and the kind of aluminium artwork on display. But it's a 120mm stem. Again, this is all worked back from a final bike fit, and custom Garmin mount. Again, it's just art, but not the lightest. But can't wait to build this up. It's going to be a mongrel for so many different test parts. I'm going to do road bike TTs on it with deep wheels and skinny tyres. I'm going to do bike packing on it. I'm going to do Audaxes on it. I'm going to do gravel riding on it. This is truly the all-rounder. And I don't think I'll ever get a bike as nice as this. Like, this has been kid at Christmas. I've been waiting for this bike. Seems like nearly a year. And this is proper kid at Christmas Day. So I can't wait to build this up. I think first of all, we're probably going to put the 12-speed Di2 on it. Maybe play around with classified road wheel set. And then maybe the TRP classified group set when that comes along. So watch this space. Now, it goes without saying, this is fully custom. So why did I choose the colours like it is? So John makes his own carbon tubes in-house, filament winds the tubes, and pressurises them, autoclaves them in-house. The CNC lugs also made in-house. John is strictly a believer in not 3D printing, because I agree it's not really there for structural components yet, although it is used. You have to insert more safety factors. CNCing, forging and things like that are way more pure processes at the moment. Not saying that won't change. And John even does the anodizing in-house now. So originally the lugs used to be nickel plated, and to sort of throw back to his original work when he started out, I've picked just kind of a grey anodized, but you can have them anodized pretty much whatever colour you like. It's all in-house. Some colours are easier to do without imperfections and blemishes than others. But yeah, this is kind of a throwback to the original frames, which are nickel plated, so that's why I've gone for the silver lugs. I've never been so excited to unbox something in my life, to be honest, and as an engineer I can appreciate the intricacies and detail that's gone into this. Even like I said, the packaging and how everything's clamped down in the box, so in transit there's no issues. The little features like the jacking off bolts in here, simple features, just cable tying the internal cable routing out of the way of the bottom bracket. You don't need anything elaborate. That works. They're pre-installed, and the box of parts this bike comes with to build it up is literally, there's 2 items in it. There's 2 bearings to the bottom bracket and your headset interface. That's all you need. You specify that when you get it. Are you going to run, John's stem, or are you going to run the FSA integrated stem or an MV stem? You specify to him what you want. That gets machined. That gets put in the box. There's nothing else to it. Everything else is pre-installed. Front mech hanger, dropouts. There's no like box of bits that falls apart when you touch it, like most carbon frames come with. This has gone back to simplicity, but it's simplicity refined.